Hey guys, welcome back to the second part of this lesson, of this project and we actually gone quite far. So now what we have to do actually, first we need to make sure here we have this emptiness, so this line can go inside his body, like, oh, oops. Okay, we actually removed the line, so we don't have to do like it's going through his body, but I will show you how to do it because this is actually a project, so I guess some of you want to see how we can do that. So for that, first of all, I need to take my brush, make sure I have white color, and here I have to make sure my line is back, so I need to draw it here like this. So make sure you're drawing on the mask of this line and make sure it's getting back. Yeah, something like this, perfect. Now we need to make a hole here so this line can go inside that hole. So how do we do that hole? In order to do that, we have to go back to, first of all, we have to go back to this image, the last one, and we need to create a mask here. And we need to draw that hole. So if I change my color to black and I start drawing like this, make sure your hardness is 100 by the way. And if I start drawing right now, we can see that it's getting empty. So this is something like similar to what we actually need to do. Next thing we actually need to do, let's just close this one. Let's go to our brush settings. If you don't have it here, you can go to window and find brush settings here, and we need to choose this brush tip here. So this will help us to make it look more realistic. For example, if I change my color to white now, go to layers, and I make sure I have this mask selected here, I can start drawing, and when I draw, you can see that now it doesn't look that smooth, because it can't look smooth because I want to make a hole in his body and it can't look like it's perfect or anything like this. Also, I need to make sure, so something like this, yeah, it needs to look like it's teared apart like this. I also can press right button, or I can go here and just change the direction of this, so now it's looking to other side. Yeah, something like this would be good. Now we need to go back to our spinal layer. We need to choose the mask, and let's go back here and choose again just the normal brush, the round one, and we need to make sure we remove this. Oops, I have to change my color to black, and we need to make sure we remove this here like this. Now we need to change to white color again. Oops, wait, let me, okay, what we actually need to do here is, it can be just, as you can see, like here it's teared apart, but here it's perfect, so it can be like this, it doesn't look realistic. So what we have to do, we need to go back to our brush settings, we need to choose this brush again, we go back to layers, make sure we choose this one here, the spinal, and we can color with black in order to make sure this one is teared apart as well, like this. Yeah, something similar. Now we need to make sure here we have his body, so we go back to this layer, to the photo and also to the mask, and we choose white color, and when we start drawing, as you can see, it draws like this. Okay, if we get closer, now we can go back to the normal brush. I know it can get a little bit confusing. If it's too fast, just pause the video and watch it again to understand how this works, because it can get a little bit confusing. So now what I need to do is I need to go to my spinal mask again. I need to change white to black, and I need to make sure I remove this part here. Yeah, now it's much better. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, when we do the real detailed work, we have to go back and forth every time we need to change something. So just get used to this process. Let's continue. Now we need to make sure behind his body we actually see this elevator here. How do we do that? So let's create a copy of this image. So we just hold Alt and drag it back. Now we need to make sure we remove this mask here. So we just take it and put it in the trash bin. And when we do that, we see black there. Why? Because now we see again his body. So because this picture is on the back, so we see this part again. So we have to choose the move tool. And if I start moving the picture on the back, so in order to do that, I have to press Ctrl T or Command T if you're using Mac. And also you can go to edit and just press free transform. And if I move it a little bit right, what will actually happen? You can see that the stairs appear. Yeah, similar to this. Because for example, right now I moved these stairs here, so I can see them on the back. And if I just make it a little bit, let's get closer in order to see what's actually happening there. So I need to make this a little bit higher. And just press OK. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know. If it looks like this, then it's okay, because you can't really see much there. Next thing we actually need to do, we need to create a new layer, and this new layer has to be up here in front of the spinal. Why? Because we actually need to add shadow here, so the shadow has to be on the spinal, on this line. And how do we do that? So we press right here and we just choose a brush tool. Then what we actually need to do, we need to press here. We need to make sure we have black color selected as main color. Go to your brush settings and make sure hardness is 0. Make brush size a little bit bigger. Just, you know, zoom in here. Next thing we need to do, we need to go to flow and make this 3%. So what is actually flow? And also we need to make opacity like 30. So if you don't remember what flow actually does, let me just show you for now. I will just turn off all of them, so you don't have to do it. I'm just showing you right now what flow does. For example, I have flow at 3%, and let's do that 100% opacity for now. Let's make this bigger. If I start drawing, what happens? It's 100%, but I don't see my black color fully because I have flow 3%. So that basically means every time I will draw, it will draw only 3%. So if I continue drawing more, you can see that it's getting darker. So the more I draw, the darker it gets. It's like drawing in real life. The more color you put, the more colorful it looks. For example, if I change the color to red, let's say, and I start drawing, you know, it builds up the color. So like this. If this is 50, for example, then it will start from 0 and it will go up every time 3%, but it will reach the maximum 50 and it will stop. So as you can see, I continue color drawing, but it doesn't get beyond 51%. That's it. So, and we are going to use flow in order to create our shadow. So let's go back to black color. Let's make this opacity 30, flow 3%. And if I start drawing now, as you can see, I draw and it starts building up, so it looks like a real shadow. Let's just delete this layer, create a new layer, and I will turn on back all the layers. Only the ellipse I will turn it off because I don't need it. Now we will go back to the empty layer. We have to get closer. So what do we actually need to know? We need to make sure our shadow appears only on this line here, on this spinal. How do we do that? We go here and we can press right button here, and here we will have select pixels. If we do that, he will select only the pixels that we have. He will select only the spinal. So like this, when we draw, it will draw only on the spinal. For example, if I go back to my layer, let's see, if I start drawing, for example, here, just an example, I draw, and as you can see, it draws only on the line itself. You can see that it doesn't get on the elevator. That's because we have this selection here, and our drawing can't go behind this selection. So let's delete this layer again here and create a new one. We actually need to draw here. So if we start drawing like this, what we will have a little shadow appear here, like this. And if we go back, yeah, I would say it looks nice. Okay, just to make sure it looks good. We can actually continue and do more shadows. For example, we actually need to do shadow here because this is going behind his leg. So, you know, actually in real life, of course, you would have to do shadow only from one point, so only from left or right. But I mean, I do always shadows from both sides because, like, I imagine that the light is going directly on my object, so that's why the shadow is coming both from the left and from the right side. And I don't know why, but it looks better, so that's the reason why I do it. It just looks better, at least for me, but you can do it differently if you want to. And then we actually need to do a little bit shadow here because it's getting behind his hand. Okay, well, the problem here now is that you can see that it's unfortunately it's on his head, so we'll have to remove this later, but for now let's just continue. Now we go back to where else? Here. Yeah. And also here, and here is a problem as well, that it will go on his face like here, but we will remove it later. So it will go on his hair right now, but we are going to remove it later, so don't worry about that. Like this, and also here. Okay, now let's go to select and press deselect. Now we need to make sure the shadow doesn't appear on his hand and also on his hair and face. How do we do that? So here we have a mask that we did on our spinal, on our line, and this mask made sure that we remove these parts of the line from the hand, or we remove, for example, these parts of the line from his hair, so we can actually use this again. So how do we do that? If we just hold Alt or Option if you're using Mac and press this mask and move it up here and just release it, as you can see, now we have this mask, the same mask here, and because we have it here, if I go back, if I go closer, you can see that we can't see the shadow on his face because we actually have removed the shadow from here. From this, we actually have this mask on this layer that removes the shadow. So I hope you understand how that works. If you didn't, just replay the video and you will get it. Or if you don't understand, you can go and watch how masks work, because if you know how mask is working, then you will definitely understand why this happened. Now we actually need to fix a few things. For example, as you can see here, it's not right, so we need to go back. Actually, what we need to select our mask. We need to make sure our flow is 100, opacity is 100, and let's go and make hardness 100 again. Make this a little bit smaller. Select your mask. Select white color actually, and if we start drawing here white, as you can see, we get back the shadow. Like this, and here as well. Where else do we have this problem? Nope, it's good here. Okay, here we have this problem as well a little bit. Okay, so we just have to do some more styling like these lines here, and also we have to change the colors and so on, and we will do that during our next lesson. So actually this project, I thought it's going to be quicker, but as you can see, it's actually getting up to 3 lessons. So see you guys during the next lesson.